Hey, what's up on Uncivil Revolt? BMAC is back over Skype, and I got another great interview lined up. You know, a good friend of mine in California, publicist known as Raquel, has always turned me on to some pretty cool artists, both in rock and pop, but I like more in the rock category. She knows this. And she just turned me on to this young man who is a very talented guitar player. I actually listened to a little bit of his new album, Tropical Depression, and let me tell you, he's got some great techniques when he's shredding the shit out of his guitar. So please help me welcome the Florida bad boy guitar player himself, Mr. Sergio Michel. How you doing, Sergio?
Going on? How are you, Brandon?
Well, it's starting to open up back in California, so I'm feeling a little good right now.
Good, good. I lived there
Uh,
4 years before August, so I know how it felt. I was there for the pandemic too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that you live down in Hollywood, Florida. So how's it looking down in Florida right now? I
Oh
know
no,
it's
I was
pretty
in
open.
California.
Oh, I thought you were in Florida now.
No, well, I'm in Florida now, but not nowhere near Broward though. I'm in North Palm Beach, but yeah, same temperature, kind of. Yeah,
Yeah. How open is it down there?
pretty much no masks. It's great. So I'm
I
having it
bet.
all. Yeah.
Well, then, obviously, how have you been doing this past year with the pandemic just luring over our heads?
Well, I haven't let it get to me at all. I've kind of just ignored it. I've just I was in California. We did a tour with Soulfly last year, a national tour, and the day that ended in Texas, it got announced that there was going to be a shutdown in a lot of the states nationwide. So I went back home to Los Angeles, and I was there for 2 or 3 months. Actually 4 months, and I said, it's a little too extra up here right now. It's too much mask stuff. People trying to kill each other at Ralph's because like their mask is not covering their nose. I'm like, the industry's shut down anyway. Let me go somewhere else. So I moved over to Florida because it's a little more open, and it's been better for me because I got to finish my album here. I enlisted Jason Newsted's drummer, which is Rob Tucker, um, from Wood and Steel and the Chop House Band, which is two bands Jason has. And that was a missing element. I needed a really good roots live drummer because I did the drumming myself, with a V drum. But I'm not a drummer, so it didn't sound like a drummer, so I wasn't happy with it. So I got him to come in the studio and lay down the drums, and it worked. It worked. The album's pretty good. It's solid from song 1 to 19. They're all A sides, so it was a good idea.
Well,
Worked
that's
out.
good to well, that's good to hear. We'll get to your album in a little bit. I want to first ask you, what got you into music, and who was the guitar player that inspired you to pick up the instrument and do your own shredding?
Well, that's kind of in stages. The first guitarist that really caught my attention when I was about 4 years old was, of course, Eddie Van Halen. Around 1983, 1984, that's when they were at their height on MTV, and I thought, wow, that guy looks like he's having a grand old time. And then, but I liked Roth too, so I said, I wonder if you could do both things at the same time, like sing and play like that. That would be great. And then I stepped away from that. I didn't start playing guitar until way later, late teens. But I always had that impression. Then the second guitar player that really uh, got me thinking about just what to do with the guitar, that you could put it in a place where most people can't, was a guy by the name of Yuzo Koshiro. And if that name is familiar to a lot of people, it may or may not be, but he's the guy that did the soundtrack for Streets of Rage, the original Streets of Rage for Sega. But in Japan, he did the OVAs for all the CD games from TurboGrafx 16 Turbo Duo, PC Engine, right? And they were all live action, real music. So there was like Ingve style sweeping, electric violin. There was like Digitech whammy pedal swells. So I was like, wow, you can make a guitar sound like an electric violin. That's cool. And then that went in the banks. And then, I grew up in the early 90s, so I had all the grunge. I hung out a lot of CBGBs, all the New Jersey, New York punk places. So I got all that power. And then one day, this is after I started playing guitar. I remember seeing a Fender ad with some guy with a little cocky smirk and a picture of Jimi Hendrix, and this is like 94, 95. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I can't even say his name. Yungui, who is this? So I walked 4 miles to the nearest Sam Goody that day, and I bought Yngwie Malmsteen collection, right? Like basically the polygram greatest hits, and that taught me how to play for real, right? And then I had a friend named Metal Mike Cheslick who went to go play with Halford, etc. And once I started playing the Yngwie stuff, I saw him up close because I knew him he's from my town, and I asked him, man, that's pretty cool stuff you're doing. How do you learn to play that? He goes, I just do it, and I'm like, okay, just do it. So I just started doing my own version of very fast playing, which I could do from the first day I picked up a guitar. I just knew how to speed pick. It's kind of like the guy from what's it called, Rigor Mortis. He said that he didn't know how to play a note, but the minute he picked up the guitar, he knew how to do, and that was me too. I could just play very fast. I didn't know what I was doing at first, but that's basically my story. So I don't think there was one player that really got me, but it was like the gradual progression to how to learn how to play fast correctly. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that you have like a bunch of like influences that really set you up for where you are today, and you took every element that you learned from those guitar players to put into and add in your own little flavor.
Yeah, yeah. I have my own little unique style. I hear. I want to say almost baritone on the guitar. It's. I have a. Most guitarists go for either the very high pitched solo or the very chug like rhythm. I'm somewhere in the middle, and it still sounds very heavy and very fast, which I think is a challenge. But I got it to work. It's my own little style. You can hear what I like the classic rock, the metal stuff, maybe the '80s romantic pop, like the Outfield or Depeche Mode and things like that. But it doesn't sound like that. It sounds. When I hear my stuff, I know it's me. You know. But I hear also the influences, and people tell me that all the time. They're like, "Wow, I hear a little Boston in that," and that's a total compliment because that's what I like. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know.
And that all that elements came together and when you created your album Tropical Depression.
Yeah, yeah,
What
Sergio Michel. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
what does tropical depression mean to you?
Okay, so tropical depression is a play on words. It's obviously, another, the formal name of a hurricane forming. It's just tropical storm watch, tropical storm warning, tropical depression. These are all things that you hear a lot in Florida. Feeder bands, when the hurricanes come. But it's also pretty funny how I was observing. I lived here a majority of my adult life. I moved here in my early 20s. And then I went to Hollywood over in California, to really concentrate on my music and do my thing, and it paid off. But I noticed that in both places, like Los Angeles and South Beach, Miami, like Miami proper, that people have all these fancy cars and or big time jobs. People are making 6, 7 figures a year, amazing. They probably have a spouse that looks like they were chiseled in stone, but they're still unhappy. They're still not fulfilled. It's insane to me how people could have so much and still complain. So I just observed the people around me and I said, man, this is good material for songs. This is insane. Like a lot of those songs are actually based on people that I know. It's like just a caricature of what I observed. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
all right.
basically.
Well, let me ask you. Here's an example. Subhuman. Who's that based off of?
Well, Subhuman is a lot of people in California, and actually some of my personal experience too. Basically, Subhuman, I was observing that a lot of people, let's say you have a job, right? Especially in
Mhm.
California, it's a right to work state, and gas is so high, rent is freakishly high. I mean, you live in the valley. The valley, there's parts of the valley that you're like, dude, you want $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood that has trash all over the street? I mean, that's just insane to ask for that kind of money for an unkept, barely secure. It's not even a one bedroom; it's just a studio, no running water. It's like insane. So, but people that have to pay that money, they work week to week, and it's paycheck to paycheck. And God forbid, HR or if they're a contractor or their agency just forgets to send that check on Friday, and you're delayed a few weeks. And if you have a really bad landlord, you'll get thrown out on the street, and then since you're week to week, you can't get back into a place. You have to live in a hotel. Then let's say you apply for aid, it takes like 6 weeks for aid, and then it's not even enough money to last you a month. So I started seeing people in the same story. They're like, dude, I just got fired for the hell of it. I just showed up late one day and now I can't pay my rent. And then the same story. I would go downtown or Glendale, wherever you go to apply for benefits, and they're not even helping me out. And I just kept hearing the same story over and over and over and over. And I'm like, wow, this is subhuman. I mean, you got to go to work 8 to 5 every day just to make sure you're not on the street. That was my experience in California too. I was like, damn, I better pinch my pennies because, stuff. I mean, I was paying a lot of money in rent. Gas was $5 a gallon. You're in traffic for 5 or 6 hours of your day. What do you do with your life? You go to work or go do a gig and you have to be back in bed to do it again the next day. So I just thought it was like, that's no way to live, man. So that's what subhuman is about. People just suffering just paycheck to paycheck, barely, if you miss that one check, you're 2 cents off, you're done. I think it's so wrong to live that way. And yeah, so.
Yeah, I can just vividly picture that in my mind. I mean, luckily for me, I never been in that situation because I have a really good job, and me and my mom we're doing okay for ourselves, so we don't have to really worry about that. But it's I've seen people in the area that struggle with that as well. I got friends in LA who were in the music industry who got hit pretty hard by this pandemic, and especially living in California where it's their livelihood, and they don't make a whole ton. So
Yeah,
to get that lifeline cut off, it's just insane. They expect you to keep paying.
yeah, and it's all walks of life too. I mean, anybody who works in the service industry, that's how they live. I mean, you wake up at the crack of dawn to wait in traffic for 3 hours to get to work, and when you get out of work, you're in traffic 5 hours. What do you do with your life? It's just work, work, work to pay the rent, and hope you don't miss a check because you're done if you do. Very
Yeah,
bizarre, yeah.
yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah, I
Uh,
just couldn't. I'm like, man, how do I verbalize this? So I mean, the best way is that kind of song, like really heavy. Like, there's no nice way to say this. It's not cool. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just so ridiculous. I'm surprised nobody's fixed this yet, but it is what it is.
well, that's politician for you. Empty promises.
Yep.
And you got a list of some pretty kick-ass titles on your album. You got Abysmal, Captain Save-A-Ho. That's funny.
That's
Too cool for
autobiographical.
Too Cool for Stool. Kick Rocks. What does Captain Save-A-Ho mean to you? What is that about?
So Captain Save-A-Ho is autobiographical. What happened to me was maybe when I was maybe like 20 something years old, I was complaining to an uncle about some girl. And I'm like, and I did this and I said that, and she still, thought I was, wrong and blah, blah. And I went on and on about how I tried to fix a relationship, whatever. And he stops me and he goes, you know what, man, you're a real Captain Save-A-Ho. And I'm like, what? Like like I've heard that term before, but for some reason during that conversation, it just hit me. I'm like,
It
I
just stuck
am.
out to you.
I know. I'm like, I am, and I thought it was funny, so I didn't take it personally. I started laughing. Like I thought it was so funny. Captain Save-A-Ho, like off to the rescue. It's like I don't care about your student debt. I'll handle that. I'm like, yeah, that's right. So it's funny because now you have all those guys on the what they call the manosphere on YouTube. They're talking about that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's time to put this song out. So, but it is autobiographical, so I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying my uncle called me Captain Save-A-Ho, so there you go.
It's amazing that a little phase or a little name calling can inspire an artist to just write something about that.
I know, and I have that habit. I tend to comically embellish things that I've experienced. So, that's a lot of my songwriting comes from there, like a comical take on something that happened.
You got 19 songs off of Tropical Depression. I know they're probably all very special to you, but for you, what would you say was your top two favorite songs to work on when you put this album together?
Kick Rocks was fun, and Abysmal.
Okay, why those two?
Well, Kick Rocks is basically it's it's just how people flip out and they have trouble dealing with, like, I believe in a literal devil. Like there's a devil. It's a spiritual force that's just antagonizing people. So just kick rocks, dude. Not today, Satan. You know, it's like that's what the song is about. Like, go to hell, leave me alone, stop bothering me. And then Abysmal, but it's fun. It's like really upbeat and it's like it's funny. But you know, once you listen to it two times, you're like, oh, that's what he's talking about. And then Abysmal is just basically about fake news and the internet. It's like people are going insane on the opinions of people that they don't even know. It's like, how do you know the news is telling you the truth if you don't go get a second and third opinion? And how do you know some like blue checkmark person on Instagram that tells you, hey, such and such is a bad person, go like, you know, tell them off and unfollow them, whatever. How do you know they're not just mad? Maybe they broke up or something and nothing ever happened. So I was seeing a lot of collateral damage from like those witch hunts online, you know. So that's what Abysmal is about. It's like, dude, we got to change the way we process information because, I mean, just because I don't get along with a guy at a gas station doesn't give me the right to go, you know, find out where he works and tell his boss he's a serial killer, so he gets in trouble, you know. And it's like, oh, it was just a joke, hee hee. And I'm like, no, you're messing with people's lives. So that's what Abysmal's about. It's abysmal. It's like it's terrible, you know.
Yeah, and when it comes to like opinions and whatnot, people listen more to like celebrities' opinions and what they say more than like their friends or their family. You
Or
know,
their own gut. I mean,
I mean, you look at Demi Lovato. I mean,
yeah.
not to like dump on her right now, but she made this comment about gender revealing parties and how she feels that they're transphobic. Now, I don't know where she got that idea from, but for me personally, I think she just said that just to keep her name relevant right now.
Yeah, I mean that's a stretch. I mean, I don't see there's no because you see the thing is there's no A B C D. We're connecting this to Z. There's nothing that so I think she just threw that out there, like you said. But maybe she actually feels that way, and that's very troubling because if you have,
Probably.
if I mean if you have somebody who has a megaphone that big, you know, she's a pop artist who can do no wrong. I mean, look, she's been in rehab. She said all kinds of mean things to people. She's not getting canceled or anything, so people want her around, right? You got to be very careful with how you phrase things, even if you agree with something. Because now the thing
Absolutely.
is, now you've just turned everybody. Like I think, look, I'll go on the record and say I think gender reveals are stupid. I just think it's a waste of time. It's dumb to me. Okay, but if that's important to you, if that's what you want to do, you're an American. You have the right to do whatever you want. But if you ask me, why am I going to spend money on using a flash grenade to flash like a color when like 3 or 4 people have already died over this? Okay, it's not
Yeah.
worth it. You know, it's not worth it. Just send a card. You know, our grandparents, our parents were fine sending you a greeting card. Hey, it's a boy, hooray! You know, it's a girl. So to me, it's just kind of a dumb thing to do. But you have the right to, if you want to, do it. But don't stretch it and say, well, you're a Nazi if you, you know, if you don't like it. I think she was very careless in that. But that's abysmal again. There you go. That's what abysmal is. It's like I'm a
Exactly.
blue check mark. I hate this, so go kill it. It's like no, come on, you can't. We can't do
Yeah,
that.
and I was just using that as an example of what you were trying to say in Abysmal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Either
personally,
way,
I'm not always a big fan of gender reveal parties myself. But if you're gonna do it, I'd say do it like on a minuscule level, like with like a cake or maybe a balloon and pop it and dust comes out. But don't like do fireworks and destroy half the national forest in California.
yeah. Well, some guy just blew himself up, didn't he? The dad. So
Oh,
so
oh yeah.
so
All right.
now you have no husband. You have no husband. Your kid is gonna, you know, ask for what happened to dad. Well, he blew up telling people you're a girl or a boy. I mean, it's not worth it. It's too dangerous. All
I
due
shouldn't
respect.
I shouldn't laugh I shouldn't laugh at that, but just the concept of thinking about that is too hard. It's hard not to laugh about that.
It's messed up, but it is.
It is.
It is
All
what it
right.
is.
Well, hey. So obviously, with Florida being open a little more than it is in California right now, were you able to maybe play some gigs like late last year or early this year? Were you able to do some bars or whatever?
Well, this year we did. Let me see. On the 4th of March, yeah, March 4th, we did the CD release for Tropical Depression in Palm Beach at a place called the Kelsey Theater. It's a big theater. Dice Clay just played there. Jim Florentine's playing in a few
Oh, I
weeks.
love Jim.
I know. Yeah, I'm gonna go see that. But it's a big theater. It was pretty cool. It felt nice to play again. I don't know if you remember a band named Fury from the '80s. They were around the contemporaries of Skid Row. New York Fury, they went under as well. The drummer came out of retirement to play that gig, and he came in with like two 26-inch kick drums, four top toms, two floor toms, two sets of side toms, and that's a third of his drum set. So it was fun. Like we went big. I was like, okay, if we're gonna do this, it's Van Halen at the Forum, and then we had fun. It was great. It was really
Well,
good.
that's good. I should have been there for that show.
I know. I was telling everybody to fly down. I'm like, hey man, you got a place to stay. Come down to Florida and come see
I,
us. It was pretty cool.
I will hold you to that. Thank you very much. I might come down there for like Rockville or something.
Let's see.
Yeah. So, what has the reception been like for Tropical Depression?
It's been very good. Everybody likes it, and what I mean by everybody is the whole spectrum of rock and roll, which would be, the real metalheads and punkers that are like in the clubs and going to gigs every night, to like the casual fan that, to them, Daughtry is like Guns N' Roses, you know, which I love Daughtry, but I'm just trying to build that scope. Like, pop rock to them is like, that's Metallica. That's like a wild night out. I saw, Bo Bice or Constantine Maroulis. I was like seeing Slayer to them. So those people that feel that way, they're casuals, love it, and the hardcore punkers and metalheads love it. So I think it was a win. This one was a good idea.
That's nice. You got a middle of the road reception where both sides just love it. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And hey, I like Daughtry too. Well, mostly his earlier stuff, but I still think he's a kick-ass singer.
Oh, I love him. I love him, and he's what's right with American Idol and those things and the voice. I don't like it personally because let's face it. How many number ones actually became somebody? It's usually the Daughtries, which is number four, that actually, because he actually had a career before. He just wasn't famous, so he gigged. He was in it for years, and then when he got the exposure on American Idol, he just blew him out more. But there are people that have won season after season after season. You hear of them once and you never hear them again. So I
Yeah.
think that's a slippery slope.
Unless
Slippery
you're Kelly Clark, unless you're Kelly Clarkson or Carrie Underwood.
Right, right. They are the exception to the rule. But out of so many seasons and so many top five placers, not many Kelly Clarksons.
Yeah, like during season 10, there was an artist on there that I actually follow very closely. James Durbin. He was the
Yeah.
guy who basically was singing metal songs on American Idol, and I rooted for him all the way. And unfortunately, he didn't win. I feel like he got screwed because they went with Scott McCreery, who was a country singer. No offense to him, he has a fine voice, but I thought Durbin had the better voice because the range he had was amazing. And today, he's actually with Frontier Records, and he just put out a brand new album that I love personally, and he's doing well for himself.
I know. I was about to say that. I mean, I know of him. He's on Frontiers, and it's the same thing that happened with Chris with Daughtry. It's like because the thing is, American Idol, The Voice, they have an agenda. They already know what they want to put out. It's a pantomime. The whole thing is a pantomime. Yeah, they give people the opportunity to vote, but at the end of the day, they're steering you towards one contestant or two that fit the kind of music they want to do, right? But here's the kicker, though. The kicker about that is that most times those people don't go over with the general audience. But a guy like Chris does, a guy like Durbin does. And I'll tell you what, I learned that lesson early on. Remember when Guitar Mageddon was around?
Which one?
Guitar Mageddon with Guitar Center?
I think so.
So sometime in the early 2000s, and this is when I met Eddie Ojeda, which I wound up being friends with later on in New Jersey, the guy from Twisted Sister. When Twisted was in a hiatus, he judged one of these Guitar Mageddons. And when I was a kid, I went up there, um, and man, I just kicked butt. It sounded insane. It was like Ingve on 10. And then they had this country guy go on, play two or three chords and whatever. And they're like, yeah, the winner's the country guy. Like, it was myself and five other guys. And we're looking at each other like, yo, this guy didn't even play a solo. And basically, Eddie told me years later, he goes, nobody cares about that, dude. Look, you got a career, you're touring. Where's that guy now? He's
Yeah,
nobody.
exactly.
But I learned that lesson that Daughtry and Durbin learned early. They have a image that they want to push. They feel, well, this is what we could sell. I don't care how talented or better such and such is. We can't work with that product. So when I was a teenager, I learned that lesson. I was like, okay, So I'm going to get myself out of the system and work independently. And that's why I work independently because, like
Smart.
Ingve, like any other guy that just doesn't fit a mold and doesn't want to be controlled, I'm like, look, I've been offered obscene amounts of money, and I don't want to mention but the major five, okay? Remember the big five,
Yeah.
record labels, movie houses. Well, those guys, I've been offered obscene, I mean, seven figures, six figures, high six figures, just to cut my hair and sing like almost like pop-ish R&B with no guitar solos and never play an instrument. They're like, dude, we can make you the next Michael Jackson or something. Dude, come on, just come on, and we'll give you a house in the Hollywood Hills, and we're gonna give you this car, and we'll take you to this party, and we'll introduce you to that. I'm like, I don't care about any of that. I'm a punker from, like a little metalhead punk guy from Jersey that went from club to club moshing for.
Yeah, you gotta stay true to yourself.
I don't give a rat's butt about meeting such and such pop diva. Who cares? Now I'd rather meet Richie Blackmore because I earned it. That's my outlook. But so I've stayed out of the system. But I mean you should hear. I mean off record I'll tell you some of these offers. They're ridiculous. I mean I've been a lot of money just to like change, and they're like, dude, we'll make you something. Yeah, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And you talk about the winners of American Idol, where they are, like most of them. Here's something that many people don't know. The winners, the competition show, The Voice. I've looked up all the winners. I mean, I didn't really watch The Voice. It's not really my thing, but I looked up all the winners in the American version, and not one of them have major label deals, and nobody, and their songs don't go number one. It's like, okay, what is the point of The Voice then?
I think The Voice inadvertently gave me 5 million, uh, 5 million eyes worth of free advertisement. Okay, so Gwen Stefani did a segment where she went to a Whiskey a Go Go, and she was like coaching one of her girls, and she says, "Oh, well, the whiskey is like when I was a kid, this was like the biggest thing you could do, and all we want to do is like play here, and blah blah blah." And while she's talking, I'm headlining the whiskey that night. So I had people coming out of left field, like sending me screenshots. You're on The Voice? They're talking about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, they kept flashing my name on it because I was on the marquee. So every time they cut to the whiskey, so thanks The Voice for the free advertising. And all
Well,
the
there you
soccer
go. You
bums know
can't go
who
wrong
I
with
am.
that.
Thank you. But yeah, no, but you're right. For some reason, The Voice seems to fall short of what American Idol is. But I mean, what can you do? It's a different demographic. I think The Voice is more for like children. I think
I guess, or unknowns. I don't know.
American Idol is more for like the whole family could watch American Idol, I think.
And here's the kicker. There are some international versions like overseas, and one of my guests was actually another client of Raquel's, Andre, and she was actually on the Finnish version of The Voice, and she actually did a version, the Deep Purple cover of Burn, and
Yeah,
she
Burn.
killed it. More European versions are playing or have metal artists, and there are no rock artists on The Voice in America, and that really it's annoying.
Yeah, the United States music is the only music I would say market where there's curation by the industry, which means somebody one day decided, hey, rock and roll's for old people, we don't like it. Who said? I mean, at the top of the '80s, Winger, Warrant, Bon Jovi, even Skid Row, which was on the bottom of that totem pole, not in class, but I mean in like popularity compared to Kiss or Metallica or something. Even those guys were banking. They were selling millions of records. Even the lowest guy in that division, right? You had
Yeah,
the Ramones around. Rancid was starting out. NoFX was starting out. So the punk people too. Somehow somebody said in 1992, you know what? We don't want any of this stuff. Everything's depressed now. Well, who said? I mean, you had an arena full of people last night. Why is Thursday that's okay, and next Friday we're like, no, we're all wearing flannel. So it's controlled, right? It's the industry's controlled. They move lockstep with it themselves, with the media, with the radio. Overseas, it's a different mentality. Everyone in the United States, everywhere but the United States, thinks like this: can you play? Yes, we'll open the door for you. Can you really perform? Great. Now we'll support you. So it's meritocracy. overseas. You can't hype, like you can't take a crappy American band to UK and put them on a buy-on tour and expect them to make it. They'll be like, who the hell is this? It's just a waste of time. They'll throw bottles at them. But if you take a good American band, right, and you take them to Europe or the UK or Australia, they'll make them the king of the island. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like my friend Mike LaPond is a friend of mine from Symphony X. Happened to him. You know, he's in this band. They go out to Europe, and now they're like, you know, playing Donington. You know, amazing.
That is amazing.
Tons of guys that I know did that. I mean, every type of band, from hardcore to metal to punk. They're in the United States. Joel and Turner, you know, another friend of mine, he has to play like a place like Dingbats in New Jersey, right? Which is a great little venue, but it's a little venue. But he goes to Russia and he's playing arenas to this day. I mean, go figure. Well, where do you want to be? Here or over there?
The mentality of it is amazing. It's amazing.
But again,
okay.
abysmal, because some tastemaker told the kids, "Hey, this is not hip. You know what's hip? Fruity Loops and like grunting."
I don't care what they say. I still go for Captain Crunch any day.
Yeah, Captain Crunch with the Crunch Berries.
Yeah, the best
The
one.
Christmas one was great.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right, so Sergio, I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions. These are fun questions, so let's see what you got. Say you're stuck on a desert island. To keep yourself from going insane and to drown out the vapid noise of silence. I know, noise of silence. Play on words. What would be the 3 albums that you would bring with you?
Okay. Birds Overkill, Saturation.
Okay.
Alcatraz, No Parole from Rock and Roll.
Ooh, Alcatraz, old school Yngwie. I like that.
And Rainbow's Greatest Hits.
Wow.
There you go.
That's a pretty good list. Very symphonic metal like.
Yeah, more complicated stuff to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. I would go with Pearl Jam's 10.
Good one.
I would also go with Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind.
Okay.
And then for the last one, this is a two-way tie between Van Halen's Van Halen 2 and For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Eddie Van Halen was the band that really got me into rock and roll. So when I heard he passed, it broke me.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what. Not many people are a fan of this, but my favorite album for like the last 6 years, maybe, or 7 years. No, it's been more since it came out. 8 is Different Kind of Truth. I mean, I can listen to that a Different Kind of Truth, especially Chinatown, on loop all day.
Oh, Different Kind of Truth is a great album from them.
Yeah.
It's sad that it got dumped. Some people kind of dumped on when they heard that it was all recycled songs from when they wrote in the 70s or 80s. And it's like, you know what? They're new to us. We haven't heard them. They're just bringing them back out. I'm glad they did that. They had a whole arsenal of songs.
Yeah, and it sounded like rock.
Yeah, it did. Except for a Tattoo. They could have picked a better single.
Better single, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a catchy song. But I was like, I would have probably opened up with Chinatown.
Oh, no, that's amazing. Like that double tap with the bass. Great.
Or Honey Baby Cutie Doll.
Yeah, Honey Baby Sweet Doll.
Yeah, or Stay Frosty. You gotta love that one. Yeah. But actually, another album I would have probably picked was probably Fair Warning, because Mean Street. Oh my God.
I would have picked Euthanasia by Megadeth, the original recording, not the remaster, Dave. The original.
Oh, wow, the original.
They deleted Menza, and Menza, he just has a way. You know, drummers don't have tone per se, but he did. I don't know how to explain it. Like he had a special way of hitting drums, and you could feel it like almost like a blues player bending a string. I can't describe it. I can tell when Nick Menza's playing. You know.
Yeah. Who do you think was better though, Nick Menza or Gar Samuelson?
Ooh, this is a close one.
I know. I would go with Gar because I just feel like he had more panache. He had more, just a killer instinct. It sucked that he was stupid enough to overdose on drugs and just get kicked out of the band, and then he died from it.
I know. He was technically superior to Menza, But I remember seeing Menza once at Roseland in New York, and roadies had to come put fisheye hooks in the stage, like those little circles with the screw in the bottom, to
Yeah.
keep the drum set from falling off the stage. Like they kept screwing him in front of it so it wouldn't move forward because he was so powerful. Even on the rouser, every time he hit the drum, the whole thing would move forward. That's how hard he hit. He was very good. But yeah, but I mean, look, we come back to the whole Marty Friedman, Chris Poland thing. Who's better? Chris Poland. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
hands down. I mean,
I
even to
love
this
Marty,
day,
but
even when Marty Friedman tried to play some of Chris Poland's songs when he was with Megadeth, he could not do it the way Chris Poland did. Chris Poland did it some tricky way, so he had to adapt his own style to really nail the song.
you want to hear a funny story? Chris Poland, even though I didn't mention him and how I learned to play guitar, the truth is that when I started to really hammer guitar out, somebody lent me a Kill 'Em All tablature book. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. This is the direction to go. And because I grew up, I was becoming 10 years old, late 80s, early 90s. I didn't really know the real Megadeth. I knew Countdown to Extinction. So that was a more commercial thing. So I'm like, oh, Megadeth sounds cool, but they're not like these Metallica guys. But then I started going back in their catalog, and So Far So Good, So What, and Peace Sells, those albums I would play, and Euthanasia, from one song to the end, put in the next, from one song to the end, put in the next, one song, all day when I was like 18, 16, 17, right? My style, if you really listen to it, yeah, I love Yngwie, yeah, I love Eddie Van Halen, but it's more closer to Chris Poland.
I
Even
kind of heard a little bit of Chris Poland's taste when I was listening to Tropical Depression.
yeah, there's a little like so. But here's a funny story. At NAMM, we had the same sponsors, but he was at one booth and I was at the other, and he did a lick with the same effects, the same speed, and the same notes that I would play, and my body had a psychosomatic reaction. Like my arm went like this, like I twitched because my brain
Oh,
said, "Am I playing?" And it was like, wow. So I'm like, yeah, Chris really did influence me. Wow, that's amazing. I've never had that happen. Like my brain thought my body should be playing right now. Like it sounded just like something I would do. And I'm like, yeah, he's the real. I give Eddie and Yngwie all the credit in the stories, and even Metal Mike and stuff. But I think it's Chris Poland. I definitely. He's awesome, man. I mean, I used to see him all the time at the Baked Potato. They're there in Studio City all the time, dude. With Ohm, just amazing. Him and Robert Pagliari.
yeah. My Megadeth album's got to be Rust in Peace. That's the album for me.
Yeah, they're all great. January. Okay, well, let's give it to Marty. Tornado of Souls, probably the best solo he's ever done.
Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, I'd say one of his best solos was the dual solo he did when he did Holy Wars with Dave Mustaine. They were just going back and forth with each other. I
Yeah,
was just like, it's like, holy crap, this is amazing.
it was.
Yeah, and I still remember watching the Big Four concert that they filmed in Sofia, Bulgaria, back in 2010, and Megadeth was playing um, Holy Wars, and it was like drenching rain, like it was coming down on everybody. And Dave Mustaine just goes over, he just looks up at the looking at the rain. He's just coming down, pouring on. He's like, "Yeah, take this," and he goes into his that wicked ass solo towards the end, and
Yeah.
I was just like, holy shit, he just came off of surgery that fixed his hand.
Yeah, but technically, wait a minute. Weren't all those solos on Rust Chris Poland's?
Oh, that's
It
right. A
technically
couple of them
were.
were. Forgot
Exactly.
about that.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well, hey,
Marty,
I got one
I'm
more
a big
question.
Chris fanboy. In fact, I don't know if you can see it. That picture, right? Well, let me see my fingers right there. That's a signed Chris Poland picture right there by the door.
Cannot see it
I
actually.
know. So there it is in the distance. That's Chris, and then Junior has another one. So big
Ah,
Mega fan. Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right, so Sergio, I got one more question for you,
All
and
right.
this is a big one. You ready?
Yeah. Let's do this.
Who'd you grow up listening to? Who'd you prefer listening to growing up? The Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Neither. Deep Purple. Blackmore guy. I'm sorry, they never did anything for me. The Beatles, I appreciate the contribution to music. Every band that I like that was influenced by the Beatles, I love. For some reason, the source material, not too happy about it. And then the Rolling Stones, I don't know. What were they? Blues? Were they rock? I have no. I can't interpret them. For some reason, I can't. It does nothing for me. I don't know if it's the lack of distortion or high gain or what it is, but they just. I'm sorry, the Stones did nothing for me. It was like Deep Purple. It was like those guys that were pushing the envelope. Really, I like those guys from that era.
I can respect that. Deep Purple is a good choice. Which era of Deep Purple did you like more, Mach 2 or Mach 3? If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, let's see. Mark One was Hush was great. Okay, that's Mark One, right? And then Mark Two and Mark. I want to say which one did Knocking at Your Back Door? Was Ian Gillian? Was that Mark Four? No,
Which song?
Knocking at Your Back Door. Ah, knocking at your back door.
I think that was actually Mach 2.
Mark Two. Okay, so what the lineup that was Glover, Blackmore, Lord,
Pierce, Lord, and
Powell,
Gillian.
and Turner. I like that one. Okay, so Powell. No, that was Rainbow. Sorry. See, they're just interchangeable. But the one, yeah, Ian Gillian, um, Cozy Powell, or was it Rondinelli at that point?
Not sure.
I don't know. Now I gotta go look at my marks. But yeah, but basically, I like every incarnation of Deep Purple. I like them all. I just like the premise that they kind of they just wanted to push blues in a direction where it didn't belong, and it worked. They just pushed the blues to the limit. I think the Rolling Stones were trying to be blues players. I think that's what I didn't like about them. They were trying to be blues players, and what they created was great. The songs are great, like Satisfaction. Okay, I understand. I get that, but they didn't speak to me. I just
Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
go for the Stones more personally because I like the combination of blues rock with different genres, and it sounded good to me. And plus, my grandfather, who's a pastor today, got to open up for the Stones back in the '60s.
really.
Yeah, it was during one of those three shows a day thing, like at county fairs or state fairs. It was in Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly. And it was during the summer, and he did three shows with he was a singer songwriter with a guitar. He's like a Christian Frank Sinatra with a guitar.
A Christian Frank Sinatra. I like that. I gotta hear
Yeah,
that.
he's got a really good soulful voice. And anyway, he does three shows, and so does the Stones, and he's always coming out wearing a new suit, looking fresh. And the Stones, being the Stones, they just kept coming out with the same outfit over and over again, and sweating their asses off because they're playing their balls off. So the final show, my grandfather's got a brand new suit on. He does his thing. He passes by the Stones. He says hello, and he says that they actually are starting to stink, like because they're sweating through their clothes, so it's not a good smell. So the manager goes up to them and says, "Hey, listen, we've been getting complaints about you guys' clothes and sweating. Could you guys change outfits before you go out there for your final thing?" Like, "Oh, sure, no problem." So they go and do that, and my grandfather saw this, and as soon as they came out, he can attest to this. They just switched with each other's outfits.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah.
You
No,
gotta
but
admit that's pretty rock and roll right
that's
there.
pretty rock and roll. But let me tell you, there's something about rock and roll funk that you can't get anywhere else. Like you can run in your clothes, you can sleep in your clothes for a week, as pajamas, and they don't smell how they do if you go to a concert for some reason. One night at a concert, that sweat and other people's sweat and people touching you and you rubbing against stuff and people dropping drinks on you. There's a certain type of smell and it's just rank and you could and it permeates. Like it's not just on you. It's like whatever room you enter, they know you're there. And the
Yeah.
cigarettes and everything. I don't know. So I know. Yeah, I change my outfit. And when I go on tour, I make laundry time. Like I tell everybody, dude, get up. Find the laundry. Do your clothes every 2 days. I'm not dealing with this.
Well,
Like
remember, it was the '60s, and the Stones were the bad boys of rock. So they did whatever they wanted. So,
whatever they want.
hey, if it wasn't for the Stones, if it wasn't for groups like them and Deep Purple and Steppenwolf, metalheads like us wouldn't be around today.
Yeah, well, Steppenwolf. I mean, what? No, Inagata DeVito and Steppenwolf's "Born to Be Wild" were voted the heaviest riffs of all time, right?
I think so, but it was during Born to Be Wild that the lead singer coined the phrase heavy metal thunder, and that was the first time that that phrase was thrown around, and it gave people the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's a natural progression. Rock, metal, heavier metals, softer rock. Get it?
Yeah, exactly. How you like that? Well,
Oh,
Sergio, thank you for the chat, man. We really appreciate it. It's great getting to know you, and I'm glad you're staying safe down in Florida. And hopefully, you'll come back to California and put a show on once they let venues open up again.
yeah. Hopefully soon. Yeah, I'm definitely there for sure.
Yeah. This was Sergio Michel, and be sure to pick up his album Tropical Depression, which is available on Spotify and wherever music is sold or download, whichever you prefer. And be sure to follow him on any social media that he might have for upcoming gigs and whatever pops into his head. If he just wants to say, "Hey, I'm having a good day. How you
Oh,
doing?"
I'm having a good day.
Exactly. Well, Sergio, you stay safe. It's great to get to know you, and just keep on rocking the way you do.
Same here, man. Thank you, and thanks for your time. And see everybody out there somewhere.
All right, peace out, man.
Bye, man.